Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another cake decorating video for you. They're going to be personal mini Valentine's Day cakes. These are the perfect treats to give to a loved one or just a friend on Valentine's Day. They're so easy to make. These are vegan and they're just great. So cute, so fun to make, and the perfect thing to do when we're still in quarantine. So let's get right into it. Here we go. I started off with just a vanilla vegan cake recipe, and I didn't put this in the video, but the recipe for that cake will be on my blog, so in the description box below, click the link and it'll take you to the vanilla vegan cake recipe. These cakes are super fun because we're going to make each one of the four look different, but they're going to be super easy and all from the same cake base and frosting. We're just going to modify them along the way, so let's get started. First things first, we're going to make our buttercream frosting. You're going to start off with some butter and vanilla and cream that in a bowl. And then you're going to add powdered sugar and a little bit of milk. I used almond milk until you get to the consistency that you want. For this, you want it to be kind of thick because it's going to be like a glue for the cakes, but you also don't want it to be too thick because it has to be spreadable. The trick to getting the perfect frosting is to really just spend the extra few minutes to whip up the mixture once it's the right consistency. That's going to make it nice and airy and fluffy, and then you're going to pop it in the fridge and let it get a little cold before you start decorating your cakes. Here are the mini cakes. I actually let them cool overnight in the fridge in a Tupperware so that they didn't dry out, and then I just sliced them in half using kind of like a bread cutting knife so that I could get a nice and even cut, and because they were completely cool, it didn't get messy or a lot of crumbs, which was perfect. You want your frosting to be about room temperature, if not a little colder, but if it's too cold and you leave the frosting in the fridge for too long, then it will be hard to work with and kind of chunky and granularly, and we really don't want that, so just find the perfect in between. As you can see, this first cake is just a simple 2 layers. I just put some of the buttercream in between, spread it with my offset spatula, and now in this clip I'm doing the crumb coat on this cake. This is going to be our most simple cake, but there's really nothing wrong with that. Sometimes simple is the way to go, and this one actually ended up being one of my favorites out of the four in the end, and I hope you guys like it too. It's like classic vanilla on vanilla. For the next cake, we are going to do the same thing, cut it in half so that we have our 2 layers. Again, I'm just using this kind of serrated bread knife. It works perfect for this. And this one, I'm doing the same thing, spreading a layer of the white vanilla buttercream, but this one is going to have jam in between the layers. So after I'm done spreading the buttercream on the bottom layer of the cake, I'm taking some of my homemade raspberry jam. You can do any flavor you want. I just thought raspberry would look really festive and kind of Valentine's Day themed. I kind of smoothed that on there with a spoon, and I just put it on the bottom layer, and then like with the other cake, just put the other half on top, and I purposefully left them kind of domed because I thought it looked cute. I didn't want it to be super flat and squared off, so I left them domed, but if you want a flat look, then just take the knife and then cut off kind of the dome part of the top tier, if that makes sense. I used a butter knife to get rid of some of the jam that was coming out of the sides because it'll make it look red, and I didn't want that look, and I wanted just a white layer of frosting on the outside, so that's what I did, and then I crumb coated this the exact same way I did the first cake. For the first 2 cakes, I did the same thing. I put them both in the fridge for about 10 minutes so that they could set up after the crumb coat, and then I added the final layer of frosting, which I'm doing in this clip here. It's the same for the first and second cake, and this is just going to make it really smooth You don't want many of the bare spots showing. Just wanted a really nice white and pretty cake, and I think they turned out so good. So then after you do your second layer of frosting, and they are to the point you want them to be, you can decorate them however you want. And this is the most fun part. You can really play around with decorations. You can use sprinkles, chocolate chips, chocolate, food coloring. You could pipe them, but I chose not to for this one. It's really so fun to experiment with the different colors you want to do. For the plain buttercream cake with buttercream in between the layers, I ended up just cutting a strawberry into a heart shape and putting it in the middle. And then for the cake with the jam in between, I put some berries on top. Now this is where it gets exciting. I added some red food coloring to the white buttercream frosting. This is the same exact batch I used for the first two, so it's super easy and simple. I just stirred it in. You could also use your electric hand mixer to whip it back in, but I was too lazy to get it back out. Now I'm going to make the heart-shaped cake, so I spread some of the pink vanilla buttercream in between the two layers. But this is going to be a little different from the first two cakes we did. Using the serrated knife, I'm just going to cut 2 lines on the bottom to be the heart shape, because my goal was to create a cake you could make without a heart-shaped pan, because I personally don't have one and I feel like not many people do. So then you just put those pieces with some buttercream on the top, and it's really hard to say like in words, so if you just watch the video, it's pretty easy. And then I took the serrated knife and just cut off some of the edges. You just want to adjust it. The trick with this is just to fiddle with it until it looks like a heart, and mine definitely wasn't perfect, but I'm actually pretty proud of how it turned out. Then I crumb coated this the same way I did the first two, and after I smoothed it out and made it look kind of heart-shaped, I accentuated the heart shape with the frosting, put it in the fridge, took it out, did the final coat of frosting with the same pink color, this time a little thicker so that it would be really smooth on the outside, and yeah, that's about it. This one was definitely the hardest of the 4 cakes, but I think it turned out really cute, and I think anyone could really do this with a little bit of practice and trial and error. And this is how it turned out. I used some white chocolate chips to accentuate the heart shape, and I think that really brought it together in the end. Now for the final cake, it's going to be chocolate frosting. I think it's almost like red velvet frosting actually, because there's not a ton of cocoa powder and it is dyed red, so it kind of turns out a little bit of a reddish brown, which gives me kind of red velvet vibes almost. So just like with the food coloring, I stirred in the cocoa powder. You're going to want to sift it so that it's nice and smooth, and make sure you get it very evenly distributed throughout your frosting. Then I cut the last cake in half and put a layer of the chocolate frosting in between the layers of the cake. Now you can stop here, but I chose to add some chocolate chips in the middle just to make it a little special. And you can really play around with this. You can put fresh fruit in between layers of the cakes and whatever you want. Because I used the chocolate chips, I put frosting on the other side of the cake too. I didn't do this with the other 3 cakes, but I figured since the chocolate chips might not stick to the top end of the cake, this might help it stay together better. So that's what I did, and then I just put it on top and crumb coated it like I did the first 3. Then I placed it in the fridge and took it out after about 10 minutes, put my final coat of frosting on so that it was nice and smooth, and I decorated it with some chocolate chips and some Hershey's Kisses. And this is how the final cake turned out. I really loved this one and it tasted amazing. The cocoa powder really added such a good flavor to the frosting. I ended up drizzling some chocolate sauce on this last cake just for the final touch, and it was so good. But if you do this, you're going to want to eat it right away so that it doesn't get soggy. And while we watch this beautiful slow motion shot, I would just like to thank you for watching this video and supporting my channel, and I really hope to be doing more videos in the new year. Even though it's not exactly the new year anymore, I'm still looking forward to filming more recipes soon, and I'm really excited for some upcoming ideas I have. Thanks for watching, I hope you subscribe, and have a great day. Thanks so much. Bye bye.